the last time, Bill. The very last time.
Let's get out of here.
Remember that primetime superhero who had no clue how to use his powers and made a supersuit look like the world's most awkward job interview outfit? Well, welcome to the greatest American hero, where the flying was bad, the hair was big, and the plot twist came with extra cheese. Oh, and one of the biggest names in comics tried to sue them, so there's that. But first, let's set the stage. The year was 1981. The greatest American hero introduced us to Ralph Hinckley, a mild-mannered teacher who gets handed a supersuit by aliens and immediately loses the instruction manual. What came next was 3 seasons of glorious chaos, low-budget flying, and one of the catchiest theme songs of the 80s. Today, we're counting down 10 of the weirdest, wildest, and most wonderfully dumb facts about the greatest American hero. Now, before we jump in, hit like and subscribe. It helps the algorithm show this video to more retro TV fans just like you. And it lets us keep digging up weird stuff like this. So let's get into the countdown with number 10. Ralph temporarily became someone else for the worst reason. Here's a weird piece of television history that perfectly captures how quickly things could change in 1981. Ralph started the series as Ralph Hinckley, a perfectly normal last name for a perfectly abnormal superhero. Then, John Hinckley Jr. tried to assassinate President Reagan on March 30th of 1981, and suddenly the show's producers found themselves with a very uncomfortable coincidence. Cue the network panic. Having a main character with the same last name as a would-be presidential assassin probably wasn't great for ratings or network relations. So they quietly changed Ralph's last name to Ralph Hanley and hoped nobody would notice. Spoiler alert, everyone noticed. You can't just change a character's name mid-season and pretend it never happened, especially when you forgot to dub over all the episodes where people called him Hinckley. A few episodes later, after the news cycle had moved on and America's attention span had shifted to other disasters, they quietly switched it back to Hinckley. The whole bizarre name-swapping saga lasted several episodes and gave Ralph the strangest identity crisis in superhero history.
Thank you, Ralph.
Bill, you all right? What's wrong with your knees?
Fear. Or I'm drunk.
And that's saying something for a guy who regularly flew into buildings. It remains one of the weirder footnotes in TV history. The superhero who briefly wasn't himself because of real-world tragedy. Number 9, that red suit was torture. The red suit might have looked iconic on screen, but for William Katt, it was pure spandex-wrapped suffering. He's called it one of the most uncomfortable pieces of clothing ever created by human hands, and considering this was the early 80s, that's saying something. It wasn't superhero sleek, it was suffocating, sausage casing tight in all the wrong places. The material didn't breathe, so under hot studio lights, Katt was basically slow roasting inside a red spandex oven.
Hold it. No offense, kid. You can make some decisions. What are you doing?
Then there was the flying harness. If the suit made you sweat, the harness made you regret. It bruised, pinched, and yanked him around so violently that Katt once slammed into a wall mid-flight. Superhero glamour? Not exactly. And don't get us started on the cape. It caught on everything, tangled around his legs, and turned walking into a full-contact sport. Even the production team had to modify the costume and rearrange the shooting schedule just to keep Katt from passing out or quitting. That suit wasn't built for justice, it was built for maximum actor misery, right on camera. Number 8, the missing manual was a brilliant excuse for total chaos. Ralph losing the instruction manual wasn't just a throwaway gag. It was the writer's golden ticket to do whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted, with no consequences. No instructions meant no rules, and the writers took full advantage. One week he had super strength, the next he was turning invisible or melting things with heat vision. Sometimes he could fly, other times he crash landed into dumpsters, and yes, he actually had deep philosophical conversations with pigeons about the meaning of life. Sometimes he could talk to animals. The suit's powers changed week to week. Super strength 1 minute, deep talks with pigeons the next. And you know what? That unpredictability became the show's secret weapon. Ralph wasn't mastering alien tech, He was beta testing it with zero tech support and a cape that tried to choke him at least twice per episode. The missing manual gave the writers carte blanche. New powers? Well, Ralph just discovered them.
Wait. Hey, you know what?
Relax.
But I feel much... Relax.
Old powers not working? User error. Need a new plot device? Well, the suit's got you covered. It was chaos, but it was brilliant chaos. The manual itself became a kind of MacGuffin. It's the one thing that could solve everything, but never actually showed up. What should have been a limitation turned into the show's biggest strength. Because let's face it, watching a superhero save the day is fine, but watching one fumble through it like he's trying to disarm a toaster with his elbows, that's comedy gold. Number 7, the theme song was a chart-topping hit. Sometimes the weirdest thing about a weird show is how something totally normal becomes a breakout hit. The Greatest American Hero had a premise that sounds like someone lost a bet. A clumsy substitute teacher gets a superpowered red suit from aliens, but loses the instruction manual, and yet its theme song became a legit pop sensation.
Look at what's happened to me. I can't believe it myself.
Believe It or Not, performed by Joey Scarberry and written by TV theme legend Mike Post with lyrics by Stephen Geyer, hit number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1981. It was held off the top spot by Diana Ross and Lionel Richie's Endless Love, but still managed an 18-week run on the charts.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so free.
It even reached number 1 on the Cashbox and Record World charts and topped the charts in New Zealand. Not bad for a theme song from a goofy superhero comedy. So, how did this unlikely masterpiece come together? When producer Stephen J. Cannell pitched the show, Mike Post's reaction was basically, "You've lost your mind." But Cannell had an idea. What if they wrote a full theme song with actual lyrics, just like they'd done for Richie Brockelman Private Eye? Post called up his lyricist Stephen Geyer with possibly the weirdest creative brief in music history. We need to make superhero clumsiness sound like falling in love, and somehow, that ridiculous concept actually worked.
Flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be?
The result was a smooth, inspirational tone with peak yacht rock vibes, soaring on the radio while the show's hero was crash landing into dumpsters. Scarberry, who'd spent a decade recording flop singles, suddenly had a smash hit playing alongside Hall & Oates and REO Speedwagon. Years later, Seinfeld gave it a second life when George Costanza used it as his answering machine message, introducing the song to a whole new generation of confused viewers. Not bad for a song about a guy who flies like a confused pigeon with commitment issues.
Believe it or not, it's just me.
Number 6. Robert Culp wanted more lines and got them. Robert Culp, the TV legend behind grumpy FBI agent Bill Maxwell, wasn't about to be a background player in Ralph's superhero slapstick. This was Robert Culp, after all, a guy who'd starred in I Spy, wrote and directed his own material, and racked up decades of screen time. He wasn't there to just hold the cape.
He arrives in Mexico via Veracruz, right? And he's cleared by the Mexican authorities, and all of a sudden he defects. Now, why in the world doesn't the Army shoot the guy right on to New York instead of dropping him here in Guadalajara?
So he spoke up. Culp wanted sharper dialogue, a bigger role, and more to do, and producers wisely said yes. Because let's be honest, arguing with Robert Culp probably felt like getting cross-examined by a very stylish bulldozer. Before long, Maxwell evolved from government handler to near co-lead. Culp brought deadpan sarcasm and a glorious amount of grumbling to every scene. He didn't just deliver lines, he often improvised and punched up dialogue that made its way into the final cuts.
Hey, the gang's all here. What the heck do we care? What the heck do we care? Hey!
Maxwell was Ralph's perfect foil. Cynical, deadpan, and always ready with a biting comeback whenever the cape got the best of him. Sometimes the best way to level up your role is to just take it, especially when you're Robert Culp and nobody wants to be the one telling you no. Alright, since you're still here, you clearly love bizarre superhero trivia as much as we do, so go ahead and tap that like button and let us know in the comments, did you ever try the superhero cape jump off the couch? No judgment, we've all been there. Number 5. The suit's emblem came from the least heroic source possible. You know that distinctive emblem on Ralph's chest? The one that looked vaguely important but never seemed really to mean anything? Well, it turns out there's a reason for that. It was literally designed using office supplies. According to Stephen J. Cannell himself on the Season 1 DVD commentary, the iconic logo was created in the most random way possible. When the costume designer asked what he wanted the suit's chest emblem to look like, Cannell basically went, good question. So the designer looked around the office, spotted a pair of scissors on Cannell's desk, flipped them upside down, and said, "That's your emblem." And Cannell was totally fine with that decision. Because when your show's about a guy who loses his superhero instruction manual, apparently winging the logo design with desk supplies makes perfect sense. It's oddly fitting when you think about it. A superhero who crashes into everything gets a logo based on sharp cutting tools.
Here. You're gonna make it. Now, all you do is you keep your head up, you point your toes. You're gonna learn this now, I'm telling you, I promise.
Maybe it was cosmic foreshadowing for all the corners the show would cut with its special effects budget. Either way, Ralph spent 3 seasons wearing upside-down scissors on his chest, and somehow, that's still not the weirdest thing about this show. Number 4, William Katt gave his character a second life on paper. Just when you thought The Greatest American Hero ended with a crash landing in the 1980s, it popped back up in comic book form, and Ralph Hinckley himself helped write the story. Because apparently 3 seasons of flying into buildings wasn't enough. In the late 2000s, William Katt teamed up with writers Christopher Foligno, Sean Patrick O'Reilly, and Derek McCall to co-write a 3-issue comic book miniseries published by Arcana Studio through Katt's company, Catastrophic Comics. Yes, Catastrophic Comics, because when you've spent your career as TV's clumsiest superhero, why not lean into the brand? Ralph put the cape back on, this time with a pen in hand. The series brought Ralph, Pam, and Bill back for a new round of alien-powered misadventures, blending the show's quirky charm with a modern twist.
What am I saying? I mean, of course they get that stuff up here. You probably have cable too, don't you?
You are a celebrity now, Mr. Hinckley. You and the suit are known to the world.
It wasn't some flashy reboot. It was a love letter to the original fans, complete with the usual amount of property damage. Think of it as the Greatest American Hero Legacy Edition for people who missed watching someone crash into dumpsters. It was clearly a passion project for Katt, who didn't just star in the original series, but decided to keep it alive decades later. Maybe it's fitting that a show about a guy who lost his instruction manual needed a comic book to explain what happened next. Not every superhero gets a comeback, but this one got a comic book revival written by the guy who spent 3 seasons proving that superpowers and competence don't always go hand in hand, and honestly, that's kind of heroic in its own right. Number 3, the legal battle that almost grounded the show. Now, here's the lawsuit that almost grounded our favorite flying disaster before he even got off the runway. DC Comics took one look at the Greatest American Hero and said, hold up, that's Superman in a perm. From DC's point of view, the similarities were a little too familiar. Flight, super strength, invulnerability, X-ray vision, plus a cape and crime fighting gig?
Long, long time till touchdown brings me round again. Not the man they think I am at home.
Sure, Ralph Hinckley flew like a drunk seagull and had the finesse of a sack of potatoes, but a bad Superman was still Superman, at least in the eyes of DC's legal team. But here's the twist. Hardcore fans pointed out Ralph had more in common with Green Lantern, who also got his powers from aliens, not to mention characters like Starman from DC or even Nova from Marvel. Turns out the superhero DNA wasn't so clear-cut after all. Warner Brothers, on behalf of DC, sued ABC and the show's producers for copyright infringement, demanding the show be pulled. Cue producer panic and nervous advertisers. After all, no one wants to sponsor a show that might get sued into oblivion before sweeps week. Eventually, the court dismissed the case, ruling that Ralph's clumsy antics and comedic tone made it different enough from the Man of Steel and even hinted at parody, which gave the show some legal cover under fair use. The irony? The show's actual inspiration had nothing to do with Superman. According to the Greatest American Hero companion author Patrick Jankowitz, it was basically the Rockford Files with a superhero twist. Less Clark Kent, more Jim Rockford in a red jumpsuit. Still, the whole legal circus was expensive and nerve-wracking, because apparently there's room for only one flying man in red spandex, even if that man routinely crashes into billboards. The whole thing might have been a little bit funnier if it hadn't come dangerously close to canceling the show before Ralph even learned how to land without bruising something. Number 2, the spin-off attempt that crashed harder than Ralph. In 1986, 3 years after The Greatest American Hero ended, someone decided what the world really needed was more people crashing into buildings. So they greenlit a TV movie called The Greatest American Heroine, intended to launch a possible reboot, because apparently one clumsy superhero wasn't quite enough property damage for television. The setup was Ralph's secret identity was accidentally revealed to the world, breaking rule number 1 of superheroing. So the alien showed up and basically said, "You blew it, genius, now find us a replacement to continue fighting evil." While Bill Maxwell scrambled around trying to find candidates, Ralph discovered Holly Hathaway, an elementary school teacher who spent her free time rescuing lost kittens and serving as a foster mother. After observing her altruistic lifestyle and discussing her commitment to the common good, Ralph offered her the cosmic gig.
Maybe I could start taking on passengers. Or at least you, Bill. I mean, at least it would be a little more convenient.
Yeah, I guess it would be. If what we wanted to do was start an airline service, which we don't.
Holly eagerly accepted because apparently nobody warned her about the learning curve. Played by Mary Ellen Stewart, Holly took up the red suit and followed the exact same formula. Ordinary person, alien tech, superpowers, and absolutely zero clue what she was doing. Imagine the original series but with a different person making the same spectacular mistakes. True to form, the TV movie featured mid-air disasters, gratuitous property damage, and Bill still yelling about the damn suit because some things never change. But NBC took one look at the finished product and apparently decided one flying wrecking ball was enough for their network's lifetime. They chose not to air The Greatest American Heroine after all.
Hey! Where'd you go?
Gotcha!
That is an old one.
Instead, it was quietly chopped up and dumped into syndication as the official final episode of The Greatest American Hero, which was about as satisfying as ending a TV series with, "and then he went grocery shopping." Even the aliens were probably watching from orbit like, you know what, maybe we should have just kept flying past Earth entirely. Number 1, William Katt hated it, until fans changed his mind. Here's the ultimate irony of The Greatest American Hero. For years after the show ended, William Katt wanted nothing to do with it. He was embarrassed by the red suit, frustrated by the bumbling hero routine, and openly critical of how the network handled the series.
Tell me about it, kid.
To him, it wasn't just uncomfortable, it felt like a detour from the serious acting career he was trying to build. And you have to understand, Katt wasn't some unknown actor grateful for any gig. Before landing the role on The Greatest American Hero, he'd already built an impressive resume. He played Tommy Ross in Carrie in 1976, a role many still consider his breakout. He starred in Big Wednesday, the cult surf classic, and took on the legendary Sundance Kid in Butch and Sundance the early days. He also turned up in shows like Gunsmoke, MASH, Marcus Welby, MD, and even auditioned for Star Wars. So yeah, trading in prestige projects for crash landings in a red spandex suit didn't exactly scream career momentum. But something shifted over time. The fans wouldn't let go. Convention after convention, they told him what the show meant to them. That they grew up watching Ralph stumble through heroism, that the theme song still played in their heads, and that the red suit meant more than he ever realized. And eventually Katt listened. He embraced the fandom, became a regular on the convention circuit, and even reprised the role for reunion promos and the Greatest American Hero comic book series. The red suit he once avoided became a symbol of something bigger. What felt like a career detour became a pop culture legacy and a permanent place in people's childhood memories. It's a classic redemption arc, only this time, it wasn't the hero getting redeemed. It was the actor. What once felt like a career misstep turned out to be a pop culture milestone and a permanent place in people's childhood memories. And that's the kind of legacy no critic can ever take away. So, there you have it, 10 weird and wonderful facts about the Greatest American Hero. Which fact surprised you the most? Which ones did we miss? Let us know in the comments section below, and if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more retro TV deep dives. Until next time, this is Remember When.